Pepsid Complete knows that food is one of the best parts of game day. That is, until heartburn strikes. Thankfully, just one chewable tablet of Pepsid Complete provides dual-action heartburn relief with an antacid that starts working instantly and an acid reducer that lasts all day. So you can stay focused on that second helping of chili without worrying about heartburn. All day based on 8-hour symptom relief studies during the day. Use product only as directed.
Take your plans out of the group chat and get long weekend ready in new Abercrombie. From day to night, pack new outfits for every part of your itinerary. Grabbing brunch? Throw on the A&F Mila dress. Then head to your dinner reservation in their new bubble hem mini dress. And yes, permission to overpack for pics with the girls. Abercrombie's best-selling Scarlet Squirt deserves a post in your feed. Your plans are worth it. Shop Abercrombie's new long weekend collection online or in store.
Care to take a few jumps?
Oh, I don't think he's quite ready for jumping yet. Do you, Chandler?
Oh, nonsense, nothing to it. Hold on tight, grip with your knees. Let the animal do all the work.
Sounds like my wedding night. Let's go!
Hello and welcome to Unequal Sequel Season 8. My name is Dave and I'm one of the two hosts of this free podcast.
And I'm Rich and I'm the other host of this free podcast. Think of me as Bridget Jones to Dave's diary. I do lots of stupid stuff and he keeps an accurate record of all of it.
That's true, actually, yeah. The premise of Unequal Sequel is very simple. We ask our guests their best ever sequel, worst ever sequel, and finally their dream sequel.
And of course, we'll quite often drift off and talk about other things, sometimes movies, sometimes just life in general.
And sometimes we do like to drop big fat spoilers to films you might not have seen. So if that happens, just stop, pause the podcast, skip forward, go check your lottery numbers. You might be a big winner. You never know. And then come back. Because on today's episode, we are joined by Nick de Semlyen.
Nick is a brilliant film journalist and writer who just so happens to be the editor of Empire magazine. That is a big deal.
We're excited to sit down with Nick and chat all things sequels with him.
These are Nick de Semlyen's Unequal Sequels. Enjoy.
So we do have a teaser question before the big questions start rolling in to get the brains warmed up and stuff like that. So what is the first sequel you remember seeing and getting excited about?
It's a great question. I was listening to my brother's episode with you guys where he was talking about Last Crusade.
Yes.
And I think if any sequel got me in a state of excitement when I was small, it was that, because as an addendum to the stories he told you guys, I was so into Indiana Jones that I made my dad take me to the video shop in the town near where we live. So it was the Video Factor in Gerrards Cross. And I was convinced it was the day that I found out the day The Last Crusade was coming out on VHS. And I was convinced there was going to be a massive, like, Beatlemania type queue outside the video shop.
Right.
And lines snaking around the block. So I said to my dad, we have to get there really early. So my poor dad, he drove me there at like 45 minutes before the store opened and there was no one there. Like, literally not a person. We just stood there for 45 minutes in the cold. And then the guy just gave us a Last Crusade videotape. But I was very excited. I was also a member of the Indiana Jones fan club, which closed after one edition of their newsletter.
No!
Yeah.
What did you get? Did you get a badge? Did they send a hat? A whip?
It was a comic book. I don't remember exactly what you got, but you got an Indiana Jones comic book. I wish I still had it, but I don't. But I remember being extremely excited about all the great stuff I was going to get and then receiving a letter saying they had shut down almost immediately. So that was disappointing. The first sequel I remember seeing on the big screen and getting very excited for was The Living Daylights.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Again, saw that at Gerrards Cross. A lot of formative experiences happened in Gerrards Cross. And I just remember going along and that kind of blew my mind, especially the big action scene with the plane.
Yeah, it's cool.
Uncharted 3 rips off. And then they got Harrison Ford to play it, so there's all kinds of weird. But
it really does rip it off, doesn't it? I just thought of that.
With the hanging off the bags and stuff. But yeah, so that was probably the two big ones early on for me.
I've got a lot of questions. How old were you? Daylights. And how old were you getting your subscription to the Indiana Jones Club?
Well, Last Crusade was 89. Am I right? So I would have been 9.
Good age.
Yeah, great age.
And I remember I was a bit obsessed with all things Indiana Jones, but also Harrison Ford. I just thought he was the coolest human.
Me too.
I had on my wall for many years a black and white publicity photo signed by Harrison Ford, which was like that was the most exciting thing, like something that Harrison Ford had touched. He probably hadn't even signed it. But since then I've got to interview Harrison Ford 3 different times, and twice in person and once on a Zoom call. And if you would have told me back then I would have got to do any of that, my mind would have imploded.
Did you tell him about the Indiana Jones Club?
No, he wouldn't have cared.
He wouldn't have cared about that, would he?
He's not open to anecdotes or personal reminiscences of any kind, I don't think. Not in my experience. But
no.
I have a fond memory of seeing him on the set. The first time I crossed paths with him was on the set of Ender's Game. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
We have, yeah.
Have you?
We do like an extra podcast that we call Disenfranchised, which is all about movies that should have had sequels and didn't. And so Ender's Game was on there. Yeah.
Right, because there are a lot of quite crazy follow-ups to that. And but I went on the set, which was really cool because it was one of those where you're on a spaceship and it's like they've probably built a spaceship and you're just wandering around it. And Harrison Ford, well, 2 things. Like, one, he was at craft services stuffing jelly beans into his pockets, which was just quite an amazing image.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The man who knew where the jelly beans were and he was going to take advantage. And then also he had his double there, not stunt double because he wasn't doing stunts, but he had a guy who looked weirdly like him and dressed exactly the same, and they were sitting next to each other, just not even acknowledging each other. But that was an odd image.
He looks like he did not want to be in that movie.
He was in it for the jelly beans.
Yeah.
That is, and I don't want to be horrible to Harrison Ford, but that is an old person's kind of thing. Werther's Originals, jelly beans, things like that. I think that's incredible. Had you seen the previous Indiana Joneses before The Last Crusade, then at that point, at 9, when you made your dad queue up, did you bring chairs?
We should have brought chairs. We didn't. That was unwise. I had seen them, yeah. I think Phil mentioned on his episode with you guys that there was this VHS tape of Raiders that my dad had found through his connections, his underworld of contacts. And that was a very formative item for me. Maybe like the most formative thing of my childhood was this videotape, because even the cover scared me. It had snakes and Nazis and it was just very intense, and I thought this was like the coolest thing. So I saw Raiders quite a lot. The videotape had a trailer for coming soon, Temple of Doom, and that was super exciting. That had that little
amazing.
Then I saw Temple of Doom. I didn't see it that many times. It was really Raiders for me, and then Last Crusade, which I just I
kids
adore.
miss out on this sort of stuff these days. Like with streaming and things, you don't get the cover art, of a video. I mentioned before in an episode that my dad had like this, like the top shelf of the video shelves were like grown up videos, and we weren't and I wanted to watch. The covers look so good. Like there's aliens and gremlins and all the stuff I wasn't allowed to watch. And I just desperately wanted to watch those. The Fly. I remember looking at The Fly for ages and really wanting to watch that movie. And The Fly. I just watched that. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be when I actually got to watch it.
Yeah, it's still pretty scary. I watched it at the weekend, actually. I watched it on Saturday night. My girlfriend was suddenly like, we saw The Wolfman recently and we didn't like it. And she was like, I want to watch The Fly. So that kind of put it in her head that she wanted, because they're kind of, companion pieces, I guess. But I find it quite hard to watch The Fly. There's some stuff in it I find quite, the arm wrestling scene, especially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I agree with you on posters, and I feel like on Netflix they have the little images from the film. They should have the posters, because you used to go in the video shop and it used to be like you'd look at all this incredible art and look up at the horror section and there'd be just the gnarliest stuff, like gnarlier than stuff that's in the actual film.
Yeah, it was
definitely
more scary. Is that where your love of film came from? It must have come very early on. And who drummed that into you? Was it your dad or was it your mum? Or did you and Phil egg each other on at that point?
Neither of my parents were like especially big film lovers, I've got to say.
Right.
My dad's favorite film he's passed now, but was The Court Jester, and so I have a lot of emotional affection to that he really liked that Danny Kaye film, which is brilliant. If anyone listening hasn't heard it, but no, it was yeah, I don't know where it came from quite, but Phil subscribed to Empire, and in this weird cyclical thing, I read his hand-me-down Empires and then got into films, and then we both ended up working at Empire, and I'm still there. But but yeah, we still have all the Empires up in my mum's loft. They're all still there, covered in flies. Not Jeff Goldblum's, but.
Do you remember the first one you got? Because I remember the first Empire I got, and that was in 1999, and it had Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me, on the front.
Oh yeah,
him carrying Heather Graham's character.
Classic.
And then it was a good magazine, because I thought, I'm going to stick with this for life now. So it was brilliant, and it was a sequel. Wow, deja vu.
Yeah. Has anyone picked that for The Spy Who Shagged Me? No.
No, they haven't.
Not yet.
Not yet. They will. Someone will.
Yeah.
I think every sequel will come up eventually if we do it long enough, Rich.
I think they're decent sequels. The Austin Powers sequels, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like the Goldmember falls off a cliff quite early on, but the opening 5-10 minutes... Great trailer, great opening 10 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes, whatever it is. Yeah, shame about the rest of it. But I have a soft spot for Goldmember. I still, was it pancake or a cigar, cheroot or a crepe? Just the weird alternatives he's offering.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard? So good. So what is your best ever sequel?
So unhelpfully, I've not really answered your question with either of these, because this isn't my best ever, I've got to say. In fact, it's not even my best ever, probably of this director. In fact, definitely not of this director, because this director is amazing at sequels. But I chose it because, A, I don't think anyone else has chosen it.
No, they haven't.
And also because it doesn't get enough props, I don't think. And it is it is Avatar, The Way of Water, which is quite a recent film. And I think... it's the third sequel that James Cameron has knocked out the park and knocked out the planet. So obviously Aliens, he obviously did Terminator 2, sequel to his own film, and then returned to Avatar after, I don't know how many years it was, 2009, 2000, like 13 years or something. And
it was a long time.
Yeah, and it's one of those weird films that it's the third biggest film of all time, Avatar: The Way of Water, but it's not that easy to find people who enthuse about it.
No.
I feel like, Nick, you've been waiting for a moment to come onto a podcast and defend The Way of Water and declare your love for it. And by God, we came along at the right time. When you first watched it, in 2022, are you a big fan of 2009's Avatar?
Yeah, I am actually.
Okay, good.
So I'm a defender. So it's not like I think the first one's terrible and suddenly add water and it's great. Like, I don't just love water.
Okay.
Yeah, my second favourite film is Free Willy. So it's not, by the way. But yeah, I have a lot of time for Avatar. I'm kind of fascinated. I was fascinated by it before it came out, to be honest, because there was this scriptment that James Cameron wrote, which was half script, half sort of... novel of the all, and some of the ideas from that scriptment are only coming into the upcoming films. So he splurged all of his crazy ideas into this thing. And James Dyer, my colleague at Empire, who's a massive Cameron fan, had this scriptment. So I remember reading it on a plane before Avatar came out, maybe a year before Avatar came out, and just being like, oh, this is interesting. But no, I have a load of time for it, and I think Way of Water pushes some of the stuff he does even further. Like, one of the things I love about it is the combination of live action and CG, which is so incredibly well done, I think, in Way of Water. Like, it's genuinely like Who Framed Roger Rabbit level, where you've got scenes where you've got CG characters, humans interacting the whole way through, entire action scenes. And your brain is just constantly going, how is this? What is this? What's real? What's not? How do they do this? They look like they're in an ocean, but they're not. They filmed it in like a warehouse somewhere in California. So I think technically it's a marvel, but I also just love a lot of the characters. I think he's great at villains. I think Stephen Lang's Quaritch is one of my favourite villains in the first film. Highly quotable.
Yes, he is.
He's going to eat everything will eat your eyes for jujubes or whatever. That great opening monologue he does at Hell's Gate.
Yes.
He's very, very menacing in that first one.
Yeah, with those claw marks down.
Yeah.
Inflicted by a creature known as the Slinth, although I think that's only in the scriptment, but there you go. And I think he just rocks. He's so cool. Like, Stephen Lang's one of those guys, he's kind of been around for a long time, but never got that moment. And I think it's really cool that Cameron has gave him that moment. And not only gave him that moment, but then brings him back even though he died. And he's going to be in all of them. And in Way of Water, he's a Na'vi. Like, he's the thing that he absolutely hates. He's like... test them, these aliens, and he's obsessed with killing them. So it's like Moby Dick sequel where Ahab becomes a whale. And we'll probably come back to Moby Dick. We'll talk about this film because there's a lot of Moby Dick stuff going on in it. But I think that I think a good double bill would be Terminator 2 and Way of Water as well, because there's quite a lot of similarities in that they're both sequels that are much more about family than the original film, and they bring family into it and the idea of being a father, which both films do. They have different father figures, which is the same for Way of Water, where you have the son who has got Quaritch on one hand, Spider, and Jake, his sort of adoptive father on the other, and then also does that Terminator 2 thing of twisting the villain, like I said, with Quaritch and reinventing it. So I just think I've rambled on, but I don't know how you guys feel about this film.
Rich?
I think it looks incredible. I think it's an incredibly technical piece of filmmaking. It's amazing. I get bored in the middle.
The hangout reel.
Yeah, that kind of...
There's a lot of fish riding.
There is a lot of fish riding, and I generally kind of nod off in the middle, I think. And I think it loses something a little bit for me. I also find that Stephen Lang is slightly less sinister as a Na'vi than he is as a human with massive scars on his face. And, I think it loses a little bit of his kind of menacingness. But, I don't think it's bad. Don't get me wrong. And like I say, technically, I think it's incredible. I do think it just gets a bit dull, which is weird to say in something that looks so amazing.
We went and saw it in 3D. We reviewed it, and
we did. And that's the way to do it, I think.
It looks incredible. The 3D is amazing.
Go watch it in IMAX in 3D, yeah.
And I did the same thing with the first one in 2009. I watched it and I was like, this is incredible. Wow. And then I got it home and I went to Blockbusters and rented it, and I was really excited. And it lost a lot of its gloss when it was just 2D. And I was like, oh, okay. And then obviously it took 13 odd years for it to come back. And I don't know how excited I was for another Avatar film at the point we watched it. And we watched it in 3D again. And again, I thought it was amazing. And then it's long. It's too long, Nick.
Counterpoint is not long enough. He did a director's cut for the first one, so I bet he's working on one for this.
I'm watching it at the moment. I've still got another 40 minutes to go.
I watched it in 2 sittings. Yeah,
I feel like it's wrapping up again. And
right.
The whale stuff does go on for a while.
I love how he just restages Titanic. There's just half an hour where he just does Titanic again, but with aliens. And that's just one little story beat. There's a lot going on. I take your point, and at the same time, not a lot going on in the middle, because it's very much that but I think that's what made people kind of who love it fall in love with it, is that middle section where it slows right down and you're just you're with the Metcaínan, this water tribe, and you're in their world, and it's kind of Barbados on steroids, and
it's showing off at that point. That's what it's doing. But, it's this isn't really water.
But I kind of love that stuff. You have to be patient, and I get if you're not fully on board, you might get lost by the time they're sort of doing the Barracuda training sequence.
Yeah, I really miss Zoe Saldana in it. I don't think she's in it enough, because I feel like she's so expressive, and her character really works as a Na'vi. I think she does really well with it, and I think that her not being in it quite as much, I miss that. sort of get a bit more Jake, and I don't think he's as good.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's so many strands. The first one is fairly linear. You're following this one guy, this Marine, and it's basically Pocahontas. I mean, James Cameron says it openly. It's Pocahontas with a better ending. It's what he calls it. And it's like you meet this guy and he goes in and it's a romance. It's a love story. And then you've got him turning against the humans, which is another thing that I think is underappreciated, how radical it is that these movies, like the humans are the shitheads. Like almost every human is awful. And we'll see what happens with Jermaine Clement's character. But just the fact you're just watching humans getting killed by these blue people and you're kind of cheering for it is really cool, and kind of mad that it's one of the biggest films. And but I don't know. I think there are giant swings in this film, and I think he pulls them off. Like, I don't think the thought of having a talking whale, like a talking alien whale, sounds like something from Futurama. But he does it, like, genuinely. There are tons of people who've gone out and got Payakan whale tattoos. Like, there are people are obsessed with this talking whale. And it's like, how many directors could have actually pulled that off and not had it be totally embarrassing?
People must love it because it's like the first two films, the first and, like you said, third most highest grossing movies ever. So these they worked. Do people come to see him because of what James Cameron brings to it, like the weight he brings, the technology he seems to advance every time he makes one of these films? Or do people come for it for the storyline and to see what happens next in the Jake Sully story?
I think it's both, but it can't just be the spectacle, because nowadays I think people are numb to spectacle and visual effects. I genuinely think like we're living in an era where you can turn on Apple TV and watch like how many TV shows, Foundation, like every episode of TV now is like some giant thing with like the biggest scale you've ever seen and in amazing visual effects. And even Severance is full of stuff like that, and that feels like a smaller show. But I think it's Cameron's storytelling. I genuinely do. Like, I think he always puts heart into it, like real heart. And I think that's the difference. I think so many movies come out and just feel disposable and don't hang around, and they may have great visuals and huge action scenes, but I think he has created a world, and I think he has genuinely created characters that people care about. Not everyone. I think he kind of, like he did with Terminator 2, he brought kids into this, and that could have really alienated, no pun intended, like a lot of fans, because you're bringing like little baby blue people into your story. But I think he does it. He makes it real. Like, even though it's like on another planet and they're blue, like people care about these characters. And I think
other than Sigourney Weaver, I think they're all great. The kids, but Sigourney Weaver's Kiri just freaks me out. It just weirds me out too much.
Yeah, that's like another massive mad swing of like having, I remember we did a Avatar 2 cover the summer before it came out, and they gave us that image and said, "Oh, by the way, this is Sigourney Weaver." And we're like, "What?" And we were like, "This is like a teenage girl," and like who would do that except James Cameron? So I think there's like a number of quite crazy things. So I think the perception from some quarters is, oh, he's just done his alien film again. But I think he is always trying to push things forward and try things and do calculated risks. I mean, shall I quickly list a couple of other things I like about it?
Please.
Go for it.
This is your sequel.
Scoresby. I love, he puts the dick in Moby Dick. So he's the Australian guy with the Hawaiian shirt who is the whaler, who's just a complete twat. And
he is.
I really love him. And the little psychological war between him and this talking whale. And that's like a big chunk of this film is that. It's like an Australian dude in a scruffy shirt trying to kill a whale, and the whale trying to fight back. And I think he's a really fun villain. And I don't know, just I guess it's one installment and there's more coming up. So a lot of stuff is, so I think, like you said, Zoe Saldana kind of gets pushed to the background a little bit, but there's lots of cool, like intriguing little plates spinning. Like you see Edie Falco drinking her coffee out of a massive thing, and she's obviously going to become a bigger character, and you see that new city that they're building with like cool little bits of tech and stuff. So I think it's exciting. It's obviously a second chapter, and it's not like, doesn't feel like a finished story, but a lot happens apart from in the middle.
And Jermaine Clement's character's coming back in the third one, because we remember when we reviewed this, Dave, back in 2022, whenever it was that it came out.
Yeah.
We had a big discussion about was he dead or not, because we weren't sure, because the boat gets crushed and he's sort of on the boat, but you don't really know if he's escapes or not. But he's confirmed for the next one.
Ian Garvin is still alive. That's
okay.
as you'll remember, that's his name. And it's also a bit unclear with Scoresby, because his arm, as you might remember, the whale, like in an otherwise like quite blood-free family film, suddenly the severed arm just goes flying up in the air. And
I love that scene.
Yeah, that's great. Like when Payakan just basically mangles his arm and sends it flying. But yeah, he's still alive. So, I mean, it's one of those sequels that doesn't really kill people off. And even when you kill people off in this world, they kind of come back. But there's obviously one big death at the end. But obviously Quaritch is still going. Another film might have killed him off, but he's still around as well. So yeah, I just have a good time with it. But I talk to people all the time. Sometimes I feel like a mad prophet ranting in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
You know, liking these films kind of does that.
With the third one coming out, it's a big old release. You're covering it big in Empire the last month. Do you have some knowledge of knowing what's coming up? So the excitement's building for you personally more than maybe the people like me and Rich who know very little at the moment.
Not massively. No, not to be honest. Not really. I mean, I've done some new interviews for the issue we've got coming out, which I can't really get into, but we're doing something every issue, which comes out of just genuine excitement from at least me and some of the rest of the team. But you know, that's really cool that Cameron wants to do that, and it's kind of, you know, we've never done that in that much depth before. But no, not really. I don't really know where it's going at all. I know that there's going to be some big action coming. That's not a big surprise, but I think like the humans are going to come back in force.
Yeah,
that's my feeling.
Yeah, it's called Fire and Ash, isn't it? So I imagine there's going to be some destruction going on.
Yeah, there's going to be a few, probably a few more severed arms, maybe. But he's talked about how he wants to, going forward, kind of complicate the story a bit morally, and you know, you won't just have it be quite so simple. The aliens are good and the humans are bad. That you're going to see like bad guy Na'vi and maybe good humans, and it's going to get a bit more. But he's also talked about bringing it to Earth, which I think is really kind of cool and interesting. I don't know.
That would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe Na'vi coming to Earth. And this is like a giant story. He's talked as well about having a giant time jump after, I think, 3, that it's going to like go forward in time. And so this is going to span decades and decades. And there's some stuff on Earth in the director's cut of the first film. Don't know if you guys have seen that.
I've never seen it, no.
Starts in...
I think I might own it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, it starts on Earth in the future, and you've got Sam Worthington in his wheelchair in a bar, getting into a bar fight, and they reveal quite late on that he's in the wheelchair. Like they kind of hold that as a sort of twist thing, and then so there's about sort of 5-10 minutes on Earth, which is quite intriguing. It's sort of a bit Blade Runner-y. Obviously Cameron has designed, like he's got it all in his head what Earth looks like at this point. So I think that's potentially very exciting.
Yeah. Both the Avatar films have been released near Christmas. Is it a Christmas movie for you?
I only in the sense that I love it when there's something to look forward to at Christmas, like Lord of the Rings. I miss that, like that when Lord of the Rings came out 3 Christmases in a row. That was like the best time of my life. I was so excited. You knew there was another one coming, and there's something about having that at the end of the year to look forward to. So yeah, I don't know if it's a Christmas movie as such. Is it a Christmas movie? Do they have? I don't know.
It's got a few Christmas movie beats in like the family. Yeah, it's a family movie. It's a movie about family, I suppose. And that's somewhat of a Christmas. I wouldn't say it's a Christmas movie, Dave.
No, okay. Well,
it looks like it's summer. It looks like
there's
tropical
no snow.
Hawaiian summer.
There's no snow on Pandora yet, but there probably is somewhere.
Yeah, like you, because I like the big releases of Christmas, because Star Wars did it like a few years in a row, didn't they? With Force Awakens was just before Christmas and Last Jedi, and then we won't talk about the last one. And I think maybe Wicked might be have that feeling the year coming, because that's a big old release. Last question: do you think the new one's going to be as popular as the other two?
Yeah, I mean, they say
the box office is so mad at the moment, and people.
It is mad, but then it was mad in 2022 when was it 2022 when Way of Water came out? It was that was an insane time, and everyone again was saying like this is going to flop, like no one's excited. You know, it's the same story every time. So I don't know. I think it still feels like an event. You know, I was thinking about like why do the Avatar films like feel like an event still, and other films don't, and I think it's because they've kept it very pure, like. You know, there's no Disney Plus spin-off or cartoon. You know, there's doing the trend at the moment is Hollywood are doing loads of animated spin-offs of every bit. You know, they did a Terminator one, Ghostbusters. There's all kinds of, you know. But I think Avatar, they're like, this is it. Like the only way you're gonna have any kind of content is to. There was a video game. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it probably will be big because the evidence points to that. But I don't know. What I've seen is like people who are. There are people who are really into it, like more than I am, like who are really like obsessed and love that world. And I don't know, I guess there are quite a lot of them.
I think I love the world more than the movies. And I'm still really looking forward to this new film because I'm intrigued to see what he does more than anything, where the story goes. And it's just like, I'm not going to go and see it for opening weekend. I'm not going to go see it opening weekend. I dragged Rich to go and see it opening weekend. Like
you did, yeah.
The first showing. So we'll be there again.
We literally saw it first showing opening weekend, 3D IMAX. Like after Dave going, I'm not fast. I'm not bothered about it. We're going.
But yeah, I don't know. It's they are big. I'd like to see Way of Water in one of those. Like when they did a thing where they showed Jaws, and you were in water while you were watching it.
Yes.
And that sounded horrible because there were scuba divers who apparently were like pulling people down at certain points in the film, like as a kind of interactive, immersive experience. I don't want that, but maybe that would be fun to watch Way of Water in the water. You get very soggy over 3 hours though, wouldn't you?
You would, You'd be really wrinkly.
You'd come out like Mr. Burns. But yeah, I think what's fun, just the final thought on it, I think what's kind of nice about Avatar is the fact that he has worked out, I think it's 5 films. He's got it in his head, and so it does feel like it's not like he's doing one and then making up another one.
That's when it works. I think if a director or even a writer has a clear idea of where the story goes across different, like the different movies, it can avoid that kind of sequel. Star Wars-ness where no one's got a clue what's going to happen in the next one. And
well,
can't join it up.
Yeah, with the sequel trilogy, it was really like pass the parcel, where like it was like one director going, right, that's mine. What do you want to do? And then you got people who actually wanted to do the opposite thing to the last guy, and it got in a real mess. And I think this is like one guy's vision, and more so even than Marvel, it's like this is one guy's vision. He's got it in his head. He's going to show you like all these different bits. He's like revealing bits part by part. So. Yeah, that is very rare in Hollywood at the moment.
Yeah, I love how passionate he is about it as well. Like Cameron, once he's got an idea in his head, he just goes with it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible talking to him, I got to say. Like, I talked to him just before Christmas and asked him about these new characters in 3 called the Wind Traders, and they ride around on these giant jellyfish animals, which are called Medusoids. And the Medusoids are something that he had in his scriptment before the first film came out. So he's had these, but he monologued about, I mean, I could only put a snippet in the magazine, but he talked about those creatures in like the most insane detail. Like he's got every like minute detail in his head, and he's genius level stuff. And so this world is like, he's been living in it in his head for however long. So I don't know. There are a lot of people who say, I wish James Cameron would go off and do other films. And I too wish he would have time to do other films, but I'm kind of, it's this weird one-off thing that's happening that no one else is doing. And I'm here for it. Like if he wants to do that, let's see where it takes us. I also think the action is absolutely banging. Like people go, oh, yeah, I'd like his old stuff, Terminator films. The action in the last hour of Way of Water is incredible. I defy anyone to say it's not.
It's a good last hour.
Yeah,
I have to admit. I love that you love it. I love that.
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
You guys will see the light. I'll rant at you until you submit.
It's a bigger picture.
Yeah. So not my favorite ever sequel, but one that I think
I think that's great.
More love. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brilliant choice, and I really like it when people pick a best sequel that maybe I'm like, I that wouldn't be my best sequel, but it's really great to know why you've picked it and, you know, your views on it. And it wins me round. And like Dave says, like whenever we have someone on and we think, oh, we're not sure why they picked that. And then we always get one round. We're always like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's good.
You guys all have your Payakan tattoos next time we see you.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that far.
Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
What has been the most disappointing sequel? So it doesn't have to be your worst. It's not your worst sequel. It doesn't even have to be a bad sequel, but it's one you went in hot and you came out cold.
That's a great question. I'm trying to avoid saying Indiana Jones because everyone says that, including Matt. You guys have had that conversation.
That's okay though. You could pick one of two. I think
you were in the club, Nick. You have the right to be disappointed by one.
Yeah, I know. It's too obvious though. But yeah, I was disappointed. I cannot tell you how excited I was. I've never been that excited in my life.
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull. Yeah. I was a little disappointed by Dial of Destiny as well, got to be honest. But I had at that point less hope than I did because, you know, it was Steven Spielberg. It was then the likable Shia LaBeouf. It was like everything was there. Like, and I, you know, a lot of like all film lovers like look at like something that's a year away and you look at all you've got to go on is the names of the people.
Yes.
And you go, they got it right they've got it right 3 times out of 3. Like, if all of them think it's a good idea, like, surely if it was bad, one of them would have pointed that out. And then you just like, you're reading how like, you know, it was the same with the Hobbit films. It's like all of them. It's Howard Shore, it's Peter Jackson, it's the actors, it's like the same writers. And you're kind of going, it's got to be at least good, like bare minimum good. Maybe brilliant, but it's going to be good. And then you see it and you're like, wow. And it just, you know, so, but I don't know. I'm going to throw in Blues Brothers 2000 as well.
Yes. Oh, that's a good choice. Yeah.
Because Blues Brothers means a lot to me, and it means a lot to me. It was one of the defining movies for me, for sure. Again, like we went on a family holiday to Greece, and I saw an ill-advised double bill of Blues Brothers, the original, and Beetlejuice, which scared the shit out of me. Like, still scares me, Beetlejuice. But I saw it. Something about that film really, I find quite unpleasant, like the original. I don't know why. Like, it's meant to be a comedy, and
there's really scary stuff in it. Like, I didn't realize until I watched it back when Beetlejuice came out, the second one. Because I thought, oh, my son might like this, and I watched it back and I was like, no, it's really gruesome. Like, it would really scare him. You know, the bits where like they're trying to they're trying to scare the people out of the house and stuff. The two ghosts are trying to doing that. Taking their face off and all sorts. Like, no, it's great. It's grim. I can see why that'd scare you.
Well, it's not just that stuff. It's like the banana song that really it's the banana they sing about bananas, right? And I can't deal with that song. It really upsets me. I don't know why. I don't have any reason why. But anyway, so that I never really got attached to Beetlejuice, so I saw the remake, the sequel rather, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. I quite enjoyed that. But Blues Brothers, on the other hand, that was something about the anarchy, the music, the the car chase, everything
endlessly
about it.
quotable.
Sunglasses, yeah.
Right.
Super cool, yeah.
Yeah, everything that Blues Brothers 2000 maybe is not. But I don't know. I mean, was that disappointing? It was too much to hope that would be good because they didn't have John Belushi. It was made too late. That had a small child.
It was made after 2000 as well. So the title made no sense.
Yeah, some of the music at the end is good. I gotta say, like it just turns into a sort of a concert towards the end, and some of the music's great. But I mean, yeah, I would never watch that again.
Yeah. Were you ever down to review any of these films back in your early days? I don't think you would have been at Empire at that point, were you?
No, I didn't review that, and I haven't reviewed an Indiana Jones, none of the earlier ones. Yeah, no. So, no, I haven't. I think the first sequel I reviewed for Empire was Barbershop 2, Back in the Chair, is it called?
I think it's got something like that.
Yeah, and also, I don't know, I think I might have been the bad sequel guy because, thinking about it, they sent me to see Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed as well.
God. We've had to watch that as well recently.
Yeah, have you? Recently?
Yeah, because it was the 20th year anniversary. We needed to cover something that
Who could forget? Who hasn't marked that anniversary? So, yeah, that was, I guess, 20 years ago over 20 years ago when I sent to see that. But yeah, I wasn't like in the early days, you were just kind of given whatever, you took whatever you were given. And I wouldn't recommend either of those sequels, but yeah, I don't know, heartbreaking sequels. There are many, really. I mean, there's The Hobbit film's the sequel. I was quite upset by The Hobbit.
We'll allow them, yes.
We'll allow them. I've got a great story about I think it's the second Hobbit movie. That I went to go and see it. My wife was heavily pregnant and I went to go and watch it on my own. I had like a day off and I went and watched it in the afternoon. There was only one other person in the cinema, and about 20 minutes in, he jumped out of his seat, sprinted out of the cinema and didn't come back. I think, was it that bad? I don't remember if it was that bad, but yeah, I tried to get my son into Lord of the Rings via The Hobbit, and he was thoroughly bored. Yeah, I should have started with Lord of the Rings, shouldn't I, really?
Maybe the guy who ran out just remembered he had a dragon dragon treasure to find. It just it slipped his mind. I have a weird
dragon on.
Yeah, damn it. I have a weird relationship with the Hobbit films because I really don't like the first one. I hate the third one, but I really like the second one. I really genuinely think Desolation of Smaug is actually a good film and gives me those Lord of the Rings feelings. But the barrel scene is controversial. I like it, but a lot of people don't.
I don't hate it. I don't hate the barrel scene. I don't know why people go on about it. I think it's fine. It's goofy, but it's fine.
I have a quick question because the editor at Empire now. Do you have to kind of simmer your opinions a bit more than you used to, if that makes sense?
On podcasts or just...
Podcast or
just
writing?
General, really.
Yeah, just general. Do you have to say like the neutral one in the camp?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you asked that because I'm on Letterboxd and I have a self-enforced policy where I don't put star ratings up for new films because I don't really want to be contradicting. Sometimes, inevitably, I'm going to contradict the official Empire review, but I think it's not great for me to be going out there and like slacking off something we've given 4 stars.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. So in that case, I just give reviews of like older films. But no, I genuinely try to be honest. Like I might not say something that I would otherwise say, but I wouldn't say an opinion I don't believe. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't want to just like force us to give the star ratings, I think, for everything. And, there's a bunch of us and everyone's got strong opinions. And if generally there's like a consensus on stuff, we'll go with that consensus rather than just find the odd one out. I'm not going to go, no, it must be 2. So yes and no. That wasn't too Weasley an answer.
No, that's a good answer. You got a lot of talented writers, so you got a good pool to pick from.
Yeah.
I guess.
And as long as it's interesting and the idea of having a correct review is a bit mad anyway. So I think you just want to have someone with a good take, someone with something interesting to say.
Because we found out like we've had people pick best sequels, and then the next week someone's picked it as the worst sequel. So we get that. What is your worst ever sequel?
Again, it's not my worst ever.
It's a good choice, though.
But it is one of the worst films ever made. But what I mean by that is it doesn't cause me personal pain, because I don't love the original. Something controversial, maybe, but Caddyshack 2 is my choice. And I think Caddyshack it's become a classic, and it's got a lot of going for it.
Yeah.
To paraphrase Bill Murray badly in that film, but I'm not like attached to it in the way I am Blues Brothers or Ghostbusters or some of those others 80s kind of comedies. But it is an awful. It's a wretched film.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
To give you an idea how bad it is, the director of this film, Alan Arkush, has posted a letterboxd review of Caddyshack 2.
Oh, I'm going to find that now.
The director of it, and he gave it 1 star. And his review reads, "I should never have made this movie, 2 exclamation marks. There was only 1 caddy and no shack. What was I thinking?" And he feels so strongly about it that in every comment to that review, he has replied. And he has so much to say, but you can go on Letterboxd and read his opinions, and he talks about the fact who he had a good time working with, who he had a bad time working with.
Oh, amazing!
Can you guess who
I imagine a bad time with Chevy Chase.
Yeah, and one other person.
Jackie Mason, Dan Aykroyd.
Maybe Dan Aykroyd. I know he's not the easiest person to get on with, potentially, but
he had a good time with Dan Aykroyd.
Good time with Dan Aykroyd.
Apparently.
Oh,
good. Which is nice to hear. I think Dan Aykroyd's a very nice man, I got to say, from my interactions with him. He once gave me a book about ghosts written by his grandfather, which was very nice.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Which I consult often.
That is nice. So, Randy Quaid, he's
no, Randy Quaid was all right. At that point, he was okay. It was Jackie Mason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's difficult because they're your two most well-known people in that movie, I'm guessing, at that point.
Yeah. It's the Chevy Chase thing probably isn't a big surprise, and no. I interviewed Alan Arkush about this film for a book I wrote called Wild and Crazy Guys, and I had a kind of a fairly big Caddyshack section, a fairly small Caddyshack 2 section. But I just want
to say I watched Caddyshack after reading that chapter. So I watched the first one, and then I was like, oh, I didn't even know there was a sequel until reading the book as well.
Well, yeah, there was, and the idea to do it didn't come from anyone apart from the studio. The studio basically said, we're doing another one, and it was interesting. It was in the 80s when the sequel stuff started really happening. Obviously, there were sequels before, but as you guys know, like the 80s, it went into overdrive, and they were just like, everything has to have a sequel. If it worked, we got to do it again. And Alan Arkush had a lot. It felt very much like a therapy session, and he was talking about how Chevy Chase was obsessed with his tan, which if you see Caddyshack 2, he looks like an Oompa Loompa.
He really does.
He looks sort of like he's been near like a radiation. He's been near a nuclear power plant or something. He's very weird, sort of Lovejoy-esque colour. But what did you guys think of this one?
Oh, it's rubbish.
It's awful.
It's awful. It's terrible. I mean, I have no idea who thought it was a good idea putting Jackie Mason in this. He's rubbish. Like so I shouldn't say things about someone, but he's really bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, Chevy Chase is barely in it. I don't mind Dan Aykroyd's character. I think the squeaky voiced assassin is kind of funny. Like, I think that's, I get the joke that, he was tortured. He sort of alludes to being tortured on his testicles in Vietnam or somewhere, and that's why he's got a squeaky voice. I kind of think that's quite funny. But yeah, the rest of it, when you watch a comedy and you don't laugh, there wasn't even a snigger. Like, it was just really flat. And like you say, 1 caddy and no shack.
Yeah.
The distinct lack of Bill Murray.
Yeah. Well, the caddy really, I can't remember the name of the guy who plays the caddy in this, but he's so lost in the mix.
Yeah, completely.
But it's a very weird film. I mean, I'm with you on the Aykroyd thing. I think like he's obviously that, it really suffers by the fact that everything has like they didn't have Bill Murray, so they had to get Aykroyd coming in and playing another like military veteran lunatic. Like, it's basically the same character, but they've just given him a weird voice. I can't remember who Dan Aykroyd based that voice on. He based it on somebody.
Oh, did he?
Some politician or something. Yeah, like a very obscure reference. But he had the voice. Like, he made a choice, Dan Aykroyd, on the Caddyshack 2 set, and he stuck to it. But yeah, he calls drives around in a food truck. I mean, it's a very Aykroydian, I feel like they just left him alone and he just turned up in a food truck.
It does feel like that a bit, yeah. They've just gone, we'll just let Dan do what he wants, it's fine.
Yeah.
Did you have to watch it for the book Had you watched it before that?
I hadn't. I watched it. I watched it
for
the
research.
Book. Yeah, for the research. Yeah, and then I went back to it yesterday.
Oh, thank you.
That's all right. I bought it. I spent £8 on it, and I don't regret that at all. I'm sure I'll be returning to it again at some point.
No,
but yeah. I mean, going back to Aykroyd, look, he's the bright fit, and we'll go into everything that doesn't work. But Aykroyd, like, there's so many odd little moments. Like, he refers to women as Smurf, like collectively as Smurf, which is such a weird. I don't really want to know what he's up to there, but that's creepy. He sort of has this laser sighted gun that looks like the one the Terminator uses.
Yeah,
and he I mean, he calls his vehicle the bath wagon. I mean, there's just lots of little. I mean, at that point you're just grateful to have anything to laugh at.
What do you think didn't work then, Nick?
Well, it might sound like a small thing, but the gopher, a very important thing in the Caddyshack film, is the gopher, and they managed to completely fuck up the gopher.
How do you fuck up a gopher?
How do you fuck up the gopher? It's like, it looks worse.
Yep.
Like, way worse. Like, the animatronic in the first one is legendary. The only video I've ever created for YouTube, I don't know why I'm admitting this, was years ago, maybe like 15 years ago, I decided to... It was after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, because it had like a gopher at the beginning, and I spliced the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark with the gopher scenes from Caddyshack. If anyone wants to go and look at it, Gophers of the Lost Ark, it's on YouTube. Yeah, so the gopher is like pushing the boulder at Indy and stuff. But the gopher is glorious in the first one. He's so just sort of, you've got this Looney Tunes cartoon where Bill Murray is going up against a gopher, locked in some kind of psychological duel with a small, cute, furry thing. But yeah, it's awful. They've made the gopher really obnoxious in Caddyshack 2. Like, he burps, he talks for some reason.
That's annoying.
He's like really like sexually aroused by humans and by like dogs. I think there's a scene with dogs where he's really into the dogs as well. It's just sort of disgusting. Like, he's just sort of sleazy and horrible, and it's basically a gremlin, like making gremlin noises. So yeah, not a fan of the gopher stuff. And then I don't know, like Jackie Mason. It's just obvious. Like, Jackie Mason is no Rodney Dangerfield. They're just repeating that whole thing.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase is just really unpleasant in it.
Yeah.
Like, he's arrogant in the first one, but they've like dialed it up. So he's the scene where he's hitting on the women, and they're all leaving. I mean, at least they're admitting that he's repulsive. But what does he say? He says, "You want to play Trap the Clam" or something. It's so horrible, and it's just the same film. It's the same film done badly, and right down to, Jackie Mason has got the special clubs that Rodney Dangerfield had.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hated his relationship with the other woman as well. I was like, what the fuck is that all about?
With Dylan Cannon.
Yeah, that was really weird, wasn't it?
That's a really weird character. I don't know what reason she's in that movie at all.
Well, she's in there because presumably Jackie Mason was like, oh, I need some beautiful woman who thinks I'm really funny. And it's just her whole role in that film is just to be like, oh, you're great, when everyone else hates him. And there's no reason why she would be drawn to him. But it's a weird film. Like, they're asking you to root for this. Jackie Mason plays this construction magnate who at one point like sets a bulldozer on some old people who are like protesting that he's bulldozing a historical site.
Yeah. Like,
and you're meant to be cheering for this horrible, like, Trump-like guy who's like menacing these, like, admittedly a bit doddery and kind of annoying, but like, in what world are they the villains? And then he's sort of degrading them and humiliating them and making them do like jobs. He buys them at an auction and makes them his slaves. I mean, he should be the villain of the film.
Yeah.
So there's no one to root for, really.
I really hate that bit as well, where he's making them work in his construction yard. It's so unfunny. It's really, was watching it going, oh, this is just so annoying. I just want this to end now, please. And it feels, it's only an hour and a half pretty much, but it feels so long.
That's what I was about to say.
It feels like it went on forever. It really did.
Also, I hate the cheapness. I don't know how to explain the corniness of it. Like, the first one is pretty cheesy, but when they introduced the golf course, when he's made it like a theme park, I was like, this is shit. Made me angry for some reason. I have no idea. I don't know why. Was Bill Murray offered the part again and he said no? but have you talked to my friend Dan?
Yeah, Dan is here. Let me pass the phone. Yeah, Bill Murray said no.
Because Harold Ramis said no.
Harold Ramis, basically, he's credited as co-writer, but wasn't really involved.
Yeah.
He fled quite quickly. Rodney Dangerfield wouldn't come back, and then Ted Knight, who was brilliant, as the club owner, the kind of the real villain.
Yeah,
is he died sadly before this got made, so he's not in it. So you've lost all the best people,
and it was 8 years, wasn't it? Between it's a long time for a sequel like that.
Yeah, and Chevy Chase, like that character kind of worked because he's not in it that much in the first one. He kind of drifts in and out. And he just looks a bit depressed in this one, apart from the tan. Maybe because of the tan.
I like Chevy Chase in the first one, I'll be honest. And I think that you can chart the fall of Chevy Chase, but for sort of between Caddyshack and Caddyshack 2.
Yes.
Is that in the first one, he is funny. I think he's funny in the first one. I like his character. I find him quite charming. And then by the time you get to the second one, you can tell he's obsessed with his tan and he doesn't really care. And he doesn't care. He's just there to be annoying and take the money and go home.
Totally. Yeah. It's got that Steven Seagal thing of you can just tell he did a pass on the script himself. And the first time you see him, he's in the club and he's playing pool and he like pots the balls effortlessly. But then he does a bit of comedy with the pool cues and they all fall down. But I mean, so he's trying to have it both ways. Yeah. But then all the women are like, Jackie Mason has a line about all the women love him. And it's just very just feels self-serving in a way that he could kind of get away with right at the beginning with the smug, I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. That stuff was quite fresh and funny, but it had aged badly at that point. Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing it to us. It was the first one. It was awful.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does without me lifting a finger, so I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Lowe's knows what makes SpringFest savings even better are member-only doorbuster deals. Right now, rewards members can save $40 on an Allen & Roth Chesler Gold faucet. Was $99, now $59. Plus, save $110 on a Cobalt 40-volt battery trimmer and blower combo kit. Was $279, now $169. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/24 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Business taxes. We're stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live full service.
What sequel seemed like a bad idea, but you ended up liking?
That's a great question. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head.
We get a lot of kind of like Fast and Furious 5 or, kind of part way through one of these epic franchises kind of thing where you're like, thought we're done with this and you've sucked me back in. Like
Puss in Boots 2.
Yeah, Puss in Boots 2. That's a good shout.
Puss in Boots 2, yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere and was amazing. And everyone loves it. Top Gun Maverick, maybe
Great
that's
shout.
too obvious, but
no, we can talk about that brilliant
seemed
film.
like a bad idea because, it's so 80s. Like Top Gun is like the 80s personified. And then trying to bring it back 30, 40 years later, whatever it is, it just seemed like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get that? But they pulled that one off and actually prefer it to the original. So, and I was into the original. Like the original was the first soundtrack I ever bought. I had the cassette tape, and very late because I'm admitting all of my like guilty, terrible secrets on this show.
Cool guy.
At school, this will make you really think I'm cool. At school, we did a thing where we played the Top Gun soundtrack. It was a boarding school. We were very bored.
Okay.
And you'd sit in a chair, and then someone would like rock the chair, and you pretend you're in a plane. I was like really young. I wasn't like...
There was no internet. We have to say this.
Yeah, I don't know why I've admitted this, but it was a thing. I was very young.
We could do that now, Dave.
Yeah.
But like Top Gun is, I think it's a flawed film, but it's so iconic, and the thought of doing a sequel to that and then having it be better.
Yeah. I was so happy with it and relieved it wasn't rubbish that I cried like multiple points in that film. Because like you, Top Gun is kind of the film that my dad made me watch when I was little and brought me up on. So we just looked at each other in the middle of that film and we're like, this is so good.
Did you do the chair thing to celebrate?
No, we got really drunk though.
Much cooler.
We were really relieved it wasn't bad. And recently I just had my 40th birthday and I got some close friends and family and I rented a very small like screen in a place near us, and we watched Top Gun Maverick with drinks and cake, and it was awesome.
Great.
That sounds amazing. That's a great choice. Really good. Oh, that's great.
I had to pick something that was kind of friendly and people would enjoy.
Yeah, no, I mean you come out of that pumping your fist and signing up to the Air Force, and
I wasn't allowed to pick I would have picked Two Towers probably. But no one was willing to watch the 3.5 hours. Or
I'd have been there, dude. I'd have watched it.
Director's cut or extended edition.
Extended, yeah. But so with Top Gun and Maverick, why? So when you first sat down for it, I'm guessing it was like a press screening or something. Were you like commenting to other people like, "Oh, it's going to be rubbish. There's no way this can be good." But the trailers were quite good, right? Had you bought into it a little bit by that point?
Honestly, one perk of Empire is even if you don't get to see the film yourself early, like some of you might, and Chris Hewitt, who you might, I mean, he's been on your show, right?
He has, yeah.
And he's very, he was covering the film and he's friendly with Chris McQuarrie and all that. And he was invited, I think with Terry White as well, our former editor. And I think they got to see it and because of the pandemic, it got pushed way back.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Way back, yeah. I mean, it was going to be an Empire cover, and it didn't. We never did a cover on it just because of the quirks of it getting suddenly pushed back. Actually, that was my first ever. I was covering for Terry and her maternity leave, and it was like, right, the first cover is Top Gun Maverick, and then I got a call saying from Paramount going like, oh yeah, we've had to push it back here. So my first week being editor, we lost a cover, which is like the worst thing that could happen, where you just start freaking out. So
what did you replace it with? Do you remember?
Well, we did.
Was it The Last Mutants?
I don't know if I want to say, because I don't know if I want to say that it was a second choice. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
Sorry. I'll tell you guys after, but I don't want to, that probably shouldn't say, but I was very happy, and the one that we did was great and worked out fine. But
also, it's a very hard situation you found yourself in. I'll cover the job. And then, fuck, the world's gone to shit. And all the movies have stopped.
And that was the first of many stressful... I think I've got my timeline wrong here. Honestly, when I look back at that time, it's such a mess. But I think this might have been actually after I took over as editor full time, rather than I think it was actually a year on from that. So anyway, in any case, it was very stressful and nightmarish. But Chris had seen Top Gun before it got pushed back.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see it for ages, but there was a good year almost where those guys had seen it and they came back and they were like, and we were nervous and were like trepidatious. But I remember Chris coming back and telling me like, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And, but mind you, he doesn't like Lord of the Rings. So, never trust Chris Hewitt, but, he was right on that one. And, so when I got in to see it, I thought I was going to like it, but it was amazing. Like that first 10 minutes, so confident and such a brilliant, that shot of Ed Harris with the jet going off, and he's so good, brilliant, so good.
I, very much like you, I went into it going, there's no way this can be good. Like it's 30 years later, it's an iconic 80s movie that's so 80s. There's no way they can make it good. And exactly the same. 10 minutes in, I'm like, this might be the best film I've ever seen.
I mean, the last 40 minutes as well is just pure cinema.
It's great.
It doesn't outstay its welcome. Like it is one of the most perfectly paced films. There's the character stuff in the middle when maybe, the action stuff is so good that maybe you get a little impatient with the bar stuff and the Jennifer Connelly stuff. Maybe, but that stuff's still done really well.
I just think I was so excited that Tom Cruise had a age-appropriate love interest.
Yeah.
I was just
it's another thing in his favour.
This is another thing that's done really well.
Yeah, it does everything. It does everything really well, and even the scene where he throws the rule book in the bin, like, which could have like been the lamest moment. It's a bit Jeremy Clarkson, but it's cool. It's just a very cool film, and it's one of those where I haven't really revisited it much on the small screen because I'm kind of waiting for it to get shown at the cinema again, because I think, like the Avatar films, it's such a good one to see.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
with popcorn and
it was great with birthday cake at Dave's birthday.
It was,
in the screening.
So that was a good time.
Yeah, it was good. What is your dream sequel, Nick?
So the idea being a sequel to something that hasn't happened. Okay, I have got an answer for this. So another of my obsessions from the 80s is Gremlins, and Gremlins 2 blew my mind. When Gremlins 2 came out, I made a board game. I'm not painting a good picture of myself.
You're a cool guy, Nick.
I'm a cool guy. So after I got off the Top Gun chair, I made a Gremlins board game that no one wanted to play with me, but I was like shunned. It was like Monopoly, but I haven't talked about this since I did it, I don't think. But I had a square where there was a microwave, and you could land on the water and all this. I still think it was a pretty decent idea for a board game, but yeah. So I got super into Gremlins, and I've seen I remember talking about posters, Rich, like you were saying with the Fly poster, like that Gremlins 2 new batch.
It's cool poster.
100%.
One of the greatest posters of all time. Again, scared me, like when I was little, like that arm coming out and like the fact they're hiding. I just, that was really...
I didn't mention it because I knew this was your dream sequel, but Gremlins was the one I wanted to watch. And we actually... I don't know if you've heard the episode, but we did a Christmas special where we crossed over with the Sequelizers podcast, and they're guys who take bad sequels and then repitch them as good, make them good again. But we did a crossover, the dream sequel, where we did Gremlins 3, and I got to reveal that the time that I found out that Santa Claus didn't exist was when I finally got my parents to relent and let me watch Gremlins, and was sat there going, What do you mean there's no Santa? I was like 5 or 6, I think, at this point.
The irony of it being revealed in that scene, that's amazing. Yeah. That's so funny. Oh my God. I wonder how many times that happened. It must have been a lot. It must have been a lot. Just Joe Dante just ruining Chris Columbus, I guess, because he wrote it. He's obviously Mr. Christmas, so he's done a lot of classic Christmas movies, but he's also ruined Christmas for entire generations.
Big generation.
So anyway, I don't know. I have had this idea for Gremlins 3. Like, it's a sketch rather than an idea, but it's like, and I got to give credit. Chris Hewitt, it's something I talked about with Chris Hewitt, and we kind of talked about it together. And so I don't know which bit's mine and which bit's his, but we always thought it would be really cool to do a Gremlins 3 where it starts out with, Billy and Kate. Is it Billy and Kate? Yeah.
Yeah, Billy
and
Kate.
And they're there, and they're grown up, they're older, obviously, and they've built like this special house that is perfect for Gizmo. So he's protected and he can run around and do stuff, but there's absolutely there's all these little safeguards so he can't get water on him, and it's all just like the rules are all being obeyed in perfect harmony, and it's all good. But Gizmo's watching TV, and he sees this documentary from China, some ancient forest in China, and he starts singing some special song that they've not heard before. And they realise that Gizmo has seen his homeland, where the Mogwai come from, and he wants to go back. And so it's all about like them taking Gizmo back to China to take him back and find out where he's come from. So this like weird little faraway forest or whatever, jungle. And they get there and they find this is the bit that might be quite naff, but they find a Mogwai village deep in this jungle, uncharted jungle, and there's little Mogwai everywhere, and they're all having a lovely time, and they take Gizmo back, and it's all good. and they've got like a little camp where they put gremlins in, I think. So they they maybe have like a little prison where a containment unit for whenever a gremlin gets made, they put them in there. So there's this like Alcatraz for gremlins that they built with little Mogwai prison guards. And so anyway, so they're staying here and it's all magical and all the Mogwai are singing songs and it's all lovely. And then something goes wrong and essentially turns into a war movie, like a Vietnam War movie, but with gremlins in the middle of this jungle. Brilliant. And Mogwai versus gremlins, it's all like a pitch battle. And the movie would end with an epic scene in which the gremlins all like form a mega gremlin that is then like in the shape of a gremlin, but made of little gremlins, and it's walking towards the ocean. And if it gets to the ocean, it's game over. So they've got to stop. It turns into a kaiju movie, essentially, with like a giant gremlin. Anyway, what's interesting is I saw Hundreds of Beavers. I don't know if you've seen Hundreds of Beavers.
No, I haven't.
Great movie from last year. Really fun movie. But spoiler, that film in the third act has a scene where lots of beavers like form a mega beaver kaiju. It's quite a crazy film, and it's basically, I looked at Chris and was like, that's our idea from Gremlins Free Stories. It's been done already. So it's funny because Chris and I have come up with lots of ideas for films over the years, and one by one we've seen them all pretty much get done by someone else.
It's really funny you said. Have you seen? You were saying earlier about them doing animated series of 80s movies. There's this the animated series Secrets of the Mogwai, which in that there is the Jade Valley in China, where there's a village of Mogwai, exactly as you've described it.
I haven't seen this show.
Have you not seen it?
No.
It's on BBC iPlayer. It's
right.
And actually, it's really quite good.
Interesting, because we
ends with a giant kaiju-sized gremlin.
Does it?
Yeah.
What? Oh wow! Okay, well, now I just sound like I watched that.
It's not made of gremlins, but it is a giant kaiju-sized gremlin.
Oh, it's one giant gremlin. Okay, interesting. No, I haven't seen it, and I didn't know it was on iPlayer, so thank you. And now I sound like I've just ripped that off. But well, there we go. It's happened already.
I think you were just spot on. Also, you came up with your idea before this happened, so they've stolen it from you, if anything.
Yeah, we did. We have had this idea for at least 10 years, and. But anyway, that would be. I guess I can just go on iPlayer and watch it. So that's good. It's no longer a dream.
There has always been like a rumoured Gremlins 3, and I think that there was a new rumour like last week. Do you ever believe the Gremlins 3 rumours?
Yeah, there was a rumor, wasn't there, about Gremlins in the White House, which now seems like it's just happened. It's just reality is we like there's Gremlins in the White House. I'd still watch a Gremlins in the White House. I think that would be a fun idea. I don't know if it would happen. I mean, I would want Joe Dante to direct it, and I don't know if that's going to happen these days. And I just I put together a Gremlins reunion for Empire 11 years ago. And it was largely like a therapy session where it was Joe Dante, Chris Wallace, who did the Gremlins for the puppets for the first film, and Rick Baker, who did the puppets for the second film. And the three of them were basically, it was like a therapy session where they were like talking about how horrendous it is to like work with Gremlins and how it almost like broke them physically and spiritually. And having heard all that, it's hard to imagine Warner Brothers like pumping in all that money to do it all with puppets again. However, Gremlins, I think, has to be puppets. Like, I don't think CG Gremlins. So that's why it hasn't happened yet, because I think otherwise we would have seen another one. But they're really hard to make. They're really, really hard to make.
It's Chris Columbus really pushing for it, I think, from the noises I've heard.
Well, that and Goonies, and he's involved in both of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like to see another Goonies? I know you're quite close to that as well.
Yeah, I've got a poster. Yeah, Goonies poster there. But I think I would. It would be fun to see them all back. The actors are all still around, and I guess it would be a younger generation. But I'd still want a lot of time for the older ones. I don't know. I mean, Top Gun Maverick kind of shows that it can work.
Yeah,
can work.
True.
It often doesn't. It more often doesn't than does. But there's always the hope, which is the magic thing of like they can pull it off if they do it right. I don't know. It scares me the thought of another Gremlins. But then you've always got the originals, and you get the excitement. Yeah.
But they seem to be like Gremlins hasn't gone away. It hasn't died. It's still very popular. It's passed down. Like I always say Gremlins is one of those first films that you watch with your parents because they feel like, hey, it's kiddie enough, and then it's a bit more adult, so we can watch it, and then they find out Father Christmas, that issue, and like that. But have they missed the boat? Right? When was the best time to do a Gremlins 3? Like, was there the mid 2000s? Would it work now?
I think it would work. I think there's always been a satirical, ironic edge to Gremlins. It's not just your straightforward monster movie like Critters. It's always kind of quite what's the word? It's kind of making fun of itself as it happens. And Joe Dante kind of brought that out so much in the second film. So I think I'd like to see it pushed more in an absurdist direction. It was pretty absurd in the second one. I think you have to go hard or go home with Gremlins. You have to just take massive swings and do nuts things.
Yeah.
So it's whether you can find a filmmaker who is patient enough to work with puppets and why not Jordan Peele? Like Key and Peele did the.
We've talked about we talked about that.
Yeah, I can't be the first person to say that Jordan Peele should do Gremlins 3. I would love to see that. He's got the comedy. He can do the horror. I mean, that I would be excited by.
Yeah.
We talked about Joe Cornish as well. We thought Joe Cornish could do a great Gremlins 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a shame he hasn't done more. I really think, and even the script that he and Edgar Wright did for The Adventures of Tintin. And having seen that, I wish they'd been given an Indiana Jones film. I really like to have an Edgar and Joe Indiana Jones film. I've been saying that for years and years. Like, I just would love to see it. I feel like they would knock it out of the park, but it's a shame that hasn't happened. But if they even want to do it, Joe Cornish would be perfect for Gremlins, I'm sure. Yeah, that's another really good thought.
We thought it might be. We literally like a couple of weeks after we released our special Gremlins 3 pitch, where we kind of go into full detail about what we would do. Then there's an announcement of Gremlins. They're in Gremlins 3's in post production, and we're like, hang on a minute,
pre-production.
Pre-production. Sorry.
So they filmed it.
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah, they just got to add the Gremlins. Yeah, maybe someone's building like Gremlin eyeballs. Yeah. Maybe there's Gremlins being manufactured right now. I mean, I feel like it will happen. I do genuinely feel like it will happen. It's too big a thing not to. In a day and age where we're getting like sequels and we're getting a reboot of Naked. We're getting a sequel to the Naked. It's not a reboot. It's a sequel to the Naked Gun.
It's actually a sequel.
Yeah, it's a sequel. But Liam Neeson is playing Frank Drebin Jr.
I thought it was a remake. It's a sequel, Rich.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be talking about it on a future episode. But in which section? In which section? Are you guys excited for that?
No, not at all.
It's Liam Neeson. Yeah, he's quite fun. I mean, I go back to that bit he did in Life is Short with Warwick Davis. I think he's the funniest version of Liam Neeson. And he did what's the one he did with Seth MacFarlane? 1,000 Ways to Die in the West. He was a bad guy.
Million Ways to Die in the West.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the few films I've walked out of. I think I've walked out of very few films in my professional career, but that was one of maybe 3. I also walked out of Scary Movie 4 because I just felt it was. I felt sorry for for Leslie Nielsen. I just he was so old at that point, and they were making him do nude scenes, and I just felt like the whole thing was just degrading. And I love Leslie Nielsen. So
sometimes life's just too short for sitting watching bad movies, right?
Yeah.
But the Naked Gun reboot, it's Akiva Schaffer, which is the thing giving me hope because I love Lonely Island.
He's a Lonely Island guy, yeah.
He's Lonely Island, and he did Popstar, and he also did the Chip and Dale Rescue Ranger movie,
which is great.
Which is good, yeah. I like
it's really good, yeah. So I don't know. I am quietly excited, very excited actually for that.
Those were Nick de Semlyen's Unequal Sequels.
First episode down of season 8. How do you feel?
Yeah, good. I mean, a great guess.
Yes.
I'm not totally down with Avatar: Way of Water as best sequel.
Hey, he's a defender.
He is a defender, and we have to appreciate that.
Yes.
Wouldn't be my choice, but, that's... yeah.
He really loves it, and... I love it that people came on because we have certain different people that come on this podcast, and sometimes they pick the best sequel. Sometimes they look at what's been picked and they want to pick a film they want to defend or an underrated sequel, it's totally up to them. We don't really care, as long as they come on the show and talk, to be honest.
Yes. I mean, yeah, that's true. As long as they come on and talk and have a choice, that's all that matters, really, isn't it?
That's a win for us. So
yes.
Brilliant. And The Way of Water is... he's a defender.
It is a thing.
It's a thing. And it has got great moments. There are great moments in that movie. It's just a little bit long for me.
And a bit boring.
I wasn't going to use the B words, but maybe in places. I mean, you should go listen to our review of it when me and Rich saw it back in the day.
True.
And you get our true feelings of it. But I love it that Nick loves it. I love that he came on, defended it, and talked so passionately about it. And we're looking forward to the next one, Fire and Ash. Could be good.
Apparently, it's the best one yet.
Nick is very excited about it from what he's seen. And talked to James Cameron and about it and other actors in the film. So, it should be good. His worst sequel, though, Rich, can we all agree that's a big puddle of piss?
Yeah, Caddyshack 2, it's terrible. It's really bad. It takes all the things that are good about the first one and does none of them.
Just ruins
just no caddies, no shack.
no good actors in it either, apparently. They're all terrible. Even the gopher's terrible. And that should be the one thing you're holding on for. In a Caddyshack film is at least the gopher's going to be funny, right?
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
No.
Not even close.
Dan Aykroyd filling in for Bill Murray, it seems.
I think Dan Aykroyd's the best thing in it, to be fair to him.
Do you?
Yeah, I think he probably is.
Okay.
That's a low bar.
Yeah, it really is.
I think he is the best thing about it.
I didn't really know. I knew it existed and I didn't think anyone would ever really pick it, but here we are.
I think it sits very well within our worst sequels.
It's in that top 10, 15 maybe at the moment. Could be in the running. And then we get on to his dream sequel.
Oh, yes. Gremlins 3. As you know, we're very, very happy to talk about this because if you listen to the last series, we ended on the Gremlins 3. So
we didn't plan that.
No, we didn't plan that at all. But, the universe works out this way sometimes.
So we got to talk about Dream Gremlins again, which is great. And your knowledge of the Gremlins cartoon really is coming into fruition, isn't it?
Who knew?
Who
knew my deep knowledge of Gremlins lore would be so useful?
Would blow people's minds every time they have got a big gremlin, in fact, like a kaiju creature. It's a bit weird. I enjoy watching people find that out for the first time, especially people like Nick de Semlyen. Thank you, Nick, for coming on to the podcast. We've been hunting you for a while. I shouldn't say the word hunting.
That sounds like we're like Predator or something, and we're trying to hunt down.
He's been on our hit list. Is that better or worse?
That's probably just as bad.
Better, yeah. I know we've had some listeners out there actually request him as well.
Yes.
They like anyone from Empire. Sometimes we get, because a lot of Empire listeners listen to this as well, which is great.
We've had a lot of Empire people. We're pretty good at that.
We've had the big cheese now.
Yeah, and now we've had the big cheese, the editor, the main guy. But he's not just the editor of Empire.
Nope.
He has written books as well.
Brilliant books.
Yes. So there's a book called Wild and Crazy Guys, which is about the comedy Mavericks, which is a really good book. And there's also Last Action Heroes, which I think that came out last year.
2023 it came out now.
Oh, did it? Oh, wow. Okay. Which is all about kind of like the big action heroes of the 80s and 90s.
I own both these books. I paid
really
money
good read
for both of them, and they're both brilliant. And I'm excited to see what Nick does next. I do annoy him. I think it's in the sequel sessions chat. I ask him what genre he's going to do next, because that's what I assumed, because I'm stupid. And he's got other ideas in the burning. We might not get another one quite like that, but because apparently, no surprise to everyone but me, writing a book is hard. So, and the research and stuff you have to go into it does take over their lives.
Do you think we should write a book though, Dave?
Yeah.
An unequal sequel book?
Yeah, I think we could, but no one would buy it.
Well, you never know. I think there are like 10 people on another slice who might buy it.
Okay, great. Have you got time to write a fucking novel at the moment?
Not really.
Maybe when your boy is like out of the house, not out of the house, but at least, you know.
Maybe when he's 35 and finally leaves home.
Then we can write the Unequal sequel, the guide to picking your best, worst and dream sequels.
Yeah. I also had an idea about like writing a book about what makes the ultimate Christmas movie.
Hey, you've done the research.
For another time.
You've done the research.
I have done a lot of research.
Yeah, you could do that. Sadly, you've just got a job, so now your time's been filled up again.
That is true, yeah.
So you've missed a chance. Anyway, thank you very much to Nick for coming on. We had a great time, great chat. And I hope everyone liked it. And we're off to the races on season 8. How do you feel? Good?
Really good. I think, obviously, this is the first one that everyone's hearing, but we've recorded lots of season 8. And I know I say this every season, but I think it could be our best one yet.
Yeah. I think so too.
I think it's certainly the best sequel sessions we've done so far. I think we're really hitting the groove on the sequel sessions, those extra questions. And I think that this is a really good chance for people to get over to anotherslice.com/unequal sequel, pay their $2.99 a month and listen to some of these incredible chats we're having. Like, we really do delve into some quite interesting stuff. And I think some of the sequel sessions this season especially have been incredible. I know I said this about last season, but it's even better this season.
Yeah.
I think me and you are getting better at them.
I think we're better podcasters now because I've listened to a couple of our first season the other day, and it feels like two people that are developing an idea of a podcast, and also the technology wasn't quite with us at that point. I was like, there's a massive difference between these microphones and the microphones that we were using back in the day, but they're all good content. So that's the most important thing.
That's the main thing. So yeah, get yourself over to anotherslice.com. Listen to the sequel sessions. They are incredible. They're definitely worth your $2.99 a month. But you also do get Disenfranchised and Box Set Mentality over there too. So, you know, you can't need any more than that. That's just loads for your money.
It's a joy to be a part of. We are hopefully 12 episodes in this season. The ones we've recorded so far are really good. Next week will be on season 8, episode 2. We won't ruin the surprise who it is, but it's another great person. I've got nothing else to say. So, Rich, nothing else to say?
Well, I mean, yes. I've got plenty to say.
Okay.
Because people need to come and join us on social media.
I am all over the place today.
You can tell this is the first episode of a new series and we're not quite in the groove yet, having just said how good we are at podcasting now. But yeah, if you're on the old social medias, come and join us. Let us know what you thought of Nick's choices. We'll read out all your comments in the end of month roundup. Just go on your favourite social media of choice and type in Unequal Sequel. You'll be able to find us there. We're not on the bad one anymore. We're not on that Bad Bird website. We've avoided that one now. But all the other social medias, you'll be able to find us, or just drop us an email at unequalsequel@hotmail.com. Like I say, we'll read out your comments at the end of month roundup and, you know, make our own comments because that's what we do. Also, while you're there, if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, if you haven't already, hit the auto download button. We'll drop into your pod player of choice every single week. That also helps people to find the podcast. Another thing that helps people to find the podcast is ratings. Please, whatever you listen to us on, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps people find the podcast. It helps our podcast move up the charts, which people care about, apparently. So yeah, please do that with the ratings. And also, it helps us, more importantly to us, the more 5-star ratings we can get, the closer we get to becoming certified Rotten Tomatoes critics. And we'd really like that because we think it would be funny.
It would be funny. Good job, everyone. Thanks for listening. I've now got nothing to say. Have you got anything else to say now, Rich?
No, I'm done, buddy.
Okay, it's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's goodbye from him.
Bye!
See you on next one. 6 for this one. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
We've got 35 ratings so far on Apple. We need a few more, though, right?
We would love a few more. That's in this country. And there's a few more around the world, but apparently it has to be from the UK.
Oh, what?
I know. And annoyingly, we have another template on Apple Podcasts, which is also us. For some reason, we're on there twice. And that one's got a few, but I've asked, can we move them over? And Apple were like, no. Oh, okay.
Rubbish.
So really, we've got over 40.
Oh, So we're well on our way now.
Well on our way now. But, people could do more.
Yeah, please. More 5 stars. Click them, click them, click them, click them.